What is up, everybody? It is Og here, back with another video, and in today's video, we are going to be doing some ZG boosting. And so I was extremely excited to do this. I didn't think coming into it that it was going to be that great, but I wanted to test it anyways, and it turns out that it could be 80 to 100,000 experience or more per hour. So it actually turns out that it's pretty good. At the same time, you're also getting rep, and you're getting those bijous and those bloodvines, so it potentially could be just as good, if not better, than the strat farm. So we're going to jump into it and walk through exactly how to do the pools, where to put your alts and the mobs and everything like that, so that you can go ahead and make sure it's pretty much AFK for the alts. There's not much movement that they have to do or really any risk of dying, but you can actually go ahead and get that lucrative experience. Now, the one thing that I do want to say is that you are going to need one limited invulnerability potion per run if doing it solo. You could also do it duo and not need limited invulnerability potions, and you could probably do it faster with duo, but with solo you are going to need one limited invulnerability potion, and the boosties themselves are probably going to need invisibility potions, and so just lesser invisibility potions. You don't need greater. And so I would recommend maybe bringing them for the boosties themselves, and then maybe you could charge a little bit more as well for the runs. But let's jump into exactly how we could do these runs. We're diving in the instance, reset everything, and now we're going to swim down here. And now this is the same as I've done in my other videos. I'll link those up above so you can have a detailed analysis of how to actually go through the runs with the mage. But here, the big difference is what you do with the alts. And so the alts can be, 50 plus to get into the instance, but they're going to aggro these mobs up here if you do not stealth right there. Alternatively, use a lesser invisibility pot. So there's this little archway that we just went under, and I'll just focus on that for just a second here. This little space right here, and you'll see these two sides. The mobs are directly after these two sides right up here. And so you want to pop stealth or the limited invisibility potion right before you get to this little archway. As long as you do that and you stay on the bottom of the water, the mobs won't be able to see you. If you have a lesser invisibility pot, they shouldn't be able to see you anyway, so you could stay, higher in the water and things like that. But definitely with a rogue, if you're using stealth at a lower level like I am here, with the dual box, you definitely want to make sure that you are staying down towards the bottom. So then once you get up here, the very nice thing about ZG is that line of sight actually breaks aggro. And so you can see here that my rogue is probably within range to aggro this mob, but because there's the pillar there, he is not able to aggro the mob because of the line of sight. And the same thing can be used to pick up herbs and things like that in other places of the instance. And so it's a really nice benefit when you're trying to boost people. So what we do here is we do our normal pool, and he can actually get XP from that little mountain pillar top right there while you do the first and the second pools just like normal. So as far as killing, I do have the other two videos that I mentioned before, which I have linked up above, but I'm just going to focus on showing you guys here exactly the same kills so that we can talk through exactly how to do everything. And so what you want to do is you want to use the first pack of Crocolists after the slow fall to go ahead and pull the second group as well. You then want to kite around in a circle, occasionally stopping to move, because what stopping your movement does is actually resets the pathing of the mobs, and so they take a more direct route to you, and they'll be able to stack easier. I did recently download Tidy Plates, which is this add-on which shows threat, and it also shows Cone of Cold, Ignite, and Frost Nova on top of the mob. So this is a very, very useful add-on to have, and it allows you to keep track of your Nova so that you can make sure that you're Novaing at the appropriate time and make sure that you're Flame Striking at the appropriate time. And it also allows you to see Cone of Cold and other debuffs like that. And so here what you want to be doing is you want to be kiting around in a circle, trying to keep them in this bottom kind of quadrant of this zone. There's a lot of terrain difference in levels throughout ZG, and that terrain difference can actually cause some major issues when you're trying to go for Cone of Cold or for Nova. And what it can do is it can basically block your Nova's radius from actually reaching the mobs. And so what you want to do is you want to try to keep them down in this bottom quadrant. Don't get too close to the pillars or to the actual Hakar temple, because you could actually pull the berserkers. But as long as you stay, in front of about a foot away from these steps, you should be perfectly fine to keep on kiting around as long as you're, level 60 doing this. And so here we're going and we're flame striking. You want to make sure that you flame strike with the back of the flame strike being as close to the front of the mobs as possible. That way when they run through the flame strike, they get as many ticks. And you also want to make sure that you're casting flame strike at 4 seconds left in your Nova. Now, the reason you want to make sure that you're doing it with 4 seconds left in your Nova is there are some mobs that will not break from the damage. And so the mobs have a chance, based on the amount of damage you do, to break out of Nova. A lot of them will, but there's a chance that some of them won't break. And you can see here that some of them are still Nova'd for a second before they came and moved towards us. By waiting until 4 seconds left, at the end of your Flame Strike, there's only, there's enough time to make sure that you get the Shatter combo, but enough time in the same sense to make sure that they're going to break out of Nova very soon if they don't break out of Nova just from the damage. So you do that, that helps keep the mob stacked. From here, once you kill the first group, you're going to come up on this ledge and you're going to go for the second group. I recommend going immediately into this because you can, at the end of the day, go ahead and use Evocate to pull the extra mobs. But this pack right here of serpents, you want to make sure that you can pull these mobs before they get back. Now, if they're too close to you where you're not going to be able to get off the pool, just wait for them to path back. Just like I explained in my last video, it's better to play it safe than sorry instead of having to run back, which takes about 3.5 minutes just to run back. And so just let them come back. But if you're ahead of the time and you're able to pull them with maybe using Evocate like I am here and get started in the fight, go ahead. Now you'll see that I did start this fight with only 70% mana, which is bold, but we were able to pull it off, so it's all right. Definitely don't recommend doing that once you're getting practice with this run. It's going to take a little bit to get used to everything like that, but eventually you'll be able to get it down without a problem, and you can do that yourselves. Go ahead here, you're going to kite them up the mountain, and now what I like to do is blink, and what that's going to cause is the back mob to start taking more direct route while the front mob's also taking a direct route to me, and it kind of creates a V shape where the mobs run towards you. And this allows you to get them in a nice little group down here and just get ready and right back into the kill. Now, one thing I want to point out also is that I use rank 1 Cone of Cold when the mobs are not Novad. Now, the reason I use rank 1 Cone of Cold is that by using max rank Cone of Cold, you're actually using up a lot of mana to be able to get that damage, and you're not using shatter combos, and so you're not going to be getting the most mana efficiency out of it. Whereas when the mobs are Novad, you're going to be using shatter combos, which means you have a much higher chance to crit, 50% to be exact, and you can then get back mana, but you can also do more damage when you crit because you have ice shards. And so you have a 100% increased critical damage bonus, and so you want to make sure that you're maximizing the chance that you crit. And when you don't have them Novad, go ahead and use rank 1 Cone of Cold. But when you do have them Novad, then you can use max rank Cone of Cold just to take them down. This is going to help you save a lot of mana and be able to do this pool if you only have like 6,000 mana or something like that. As you saw here, I started the fight with 70% of my normal mana, which I have 6,500 mana. So that's about 4,500 mana that I started the fight with, and I was able to use 1 mana gem and ultimately get them down. If you do get really low on mana and you find that the mobs are pretty low, what you can do is you can start switching to solely a Cone of Cold strat. And so that's similar to the previous strat, just drop the Flame Strike. And so what you do is you just kite around in a circle. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you to maximize your Master of the Elements talent, which is going to give you as much mana back as possible, while also just continuing to kite in a circle. I also try to not use Iron Grenades because not everyone's going to be an engineer. So I went to go use an Iron Grenade there, but then I stopped myself from using it. But as you can see here, there's an issue with the terrain and the Cone of Cold where normally that would probably hit the mobs. Because of the terrain, it makes it more difficult to hit them. You can use jumping to improve this, to extend the range of your leeway. Some people use backpedal, but I personally do not like backpedal at all, just because I find that backpedal causes more issues than not, but you can use it if you'd like to. Once you get down these mobs, you now have 2 of the first groups dead. You can see that we're only about 6.5 minutes in. Each of these mobs at my level is giving 1,250-ish experience rested, which means each of the mobs is giving about 625 experience per mob. And you can see here up at the top left, we're running at about 167,000 experience per hour currently, and we're getting about 1,200 experience per mob. Now, the nice thing is that the mobs are going to continue to scale up in experience. So the minimum experience you're going to get is actually at level 50. Because the mobs are level 60, they're going to be red to you until you hit level 56, which means that then they're going to be, like pure red. And then at 56, they'll be orange, which means that you're going to continue scaling up in experience. And at level 56, you're actually going to get the optimal experience. 57, you're going to get optimal. And 58 and 59, you're going to get amazing experience. And so it seems to be going up by about 25 experience per level, which means that by the time that you get up to about 58, you're looking at probably somewhere in the realm of 750 experience per mob, if I had to guess. It's a rough estimate, but I think that's around what it will be. Maybe about 700 experience, somewhere in that range. And so you'll be able to increase your experience that you're getting compared to level 50 by about 25%. But here you can see that we move over our mage. And the reason why we move over our mage is that these frenzies actually hit pretty hard. And so what I recommend doing when you're boosting lower levels is that they ultimately have to mount up and jump off into the water to come over to this pathing with you. So if you go back over to where you pulled the very first crocs, you could rank 1 blizzard on those Akari frenzies after aggroing them to make sure that they don't hit your ults. This is really, really beneficial because if they hit your ults, there's a very high chance that they daze them, and they can also crit them constantly, which means that they're ultimately going to take them down very quick. But if you step into the water, you can get aggro of the Hakari Frenzies. Then you can go ahead and start rank 1 blizzarding on them outside of the water, and you can keep aggro on them even if they try to hit the other tunes, because that blizzard actually refreshes the aggro even if they're evading you. So you just keep on using rank 1 blizzard on the mobs, your other tunes can go into safety, and they can get right into the safe spot. This is going to be the second safe spot. So for the first 2 packs, the rogue can get experience from right there at the very start with the high hill. And now right here, what they do is that they run to the tree, and you could just put your ult there the entire time. Now the issue here is that you have to wait for the Berserker to pat all the way back until he's around this right side right here. Reason being, Berserkers might walk slow, but once they start running, they run very fast. And so we're going to skip ahead to where he is actually coming back to where we can kill. So now we see the Berserker is passing right over here, and so we're getting into a good spot where we're able to start going. And so we wait for him to pass right over there to make sure that he is plenty far enough for us to start. We run down and we pull these 2 croc groups, start off with the left one and then pull this far one to make sure that we have enough room to get up the hill without getting hit. The crocs will actually scale up the wall, so we don't need to worry about him aggroing on the backside. But you also want to make sure that you don't run too fast, because if they run too fast, they could potentially pull these groups on the left, and you don't want to pull those axe throwers because you will die. You then run over. There's a cub that runs back and forth, so make sure you pick up that cub, jump into the middle, and then go ahead and block in the middle, waiting for the crocs to get here. Now, I messed up a couple times on this in the video, so I'm going to show you a better strat right after this. But basically what you want to do is you want to block and then come out and immediately limit a vulnerability potion, 3 arcane explosions, step to the left, and then Nova. Now, the reason you want to do that is that these cubs actually start running away when they get to low health. And by using arcane explosions early on, you can actually focus on making sure that you get these cubs down. Now, I messed up here, and the thing I messed up with is that I focused on getting the cubs down, but what I forgot about is the fact that Cone of Cold's about to expire, and then I die. So do not, whatever you do not focus too hard on the cubs to make sure that you get them down without reapplying Cone of Cold, or else you're going to die just like that. But then we can get back to the spot, and we can see here that the Berserker is almost back, and so I'm going to make another very bold decision to do the pull quickly. If the Berserker is padding back, make sure that he doesn't really pass this group, or else you're going to run out of room. But here you can see that we have a little bit of time, and so we're going to get back some mana, and then we're going to get started here with the pool. We only got back to 60%, but we're going to leverage Evocate to try to get back some extra mana. So we can start with the pool here, just as before. Go over, pull the second group, and then we're going to scale up the wall. Now you can go around the wall 2 ways. You can go all the way out and then come back, or you could just use this kind of semi-path right here, which allows you to cut off a little bit of room when you're running up the wall. But as we saw before, we're going to run up the wall. We're going to go back into the room. This is going to be obviously the toughest pool, just because you are pooling 2 croc packs plus all the tigers in this hallway. So you definitely, don't feel bad if you need a little bit of time of practice to get this down, but you ultimately can get it down where you're doing it pretty much every single time. You'll also see there that I messed up and didn't have Ice Block up when I got back, and so I had to go ahead and use Cold Snap early. It's definitely nice to have Cold Snap during the kill, just because there's a very good chance that some mob is going to resist one of your Novas at some point, and you can let him hit you and get back into the normal pattern like that. But it's nice to have Cold Snap to be able to just go ahead and refresh Nova just to get back into it. But here we go back into our kiting rotation. We obviously make the improvement that we don't worry about the cub, because the cub's really low health, so we focus on getting the Cone of Cold, and then we go ahead and get the cub after that. And then you kite around in a circle. The best place to kind of keep the mobs is going to be in the middle here. It's nice to have all your cooldowns up for this pack, as I said before, because this pack is going to be the most difficult pack out of all the packs you're going to be killing. And so if you can keep them in a circle and keep on kiting them around, it's really beneficial. If the mobs get too scattered like this and you can't reach them all with the Cone of Cold, blink through the pack to the opposite side. That's going to reset the room that they're running and kind of allow you some extra time to get them kind of congested before your next Nova. Go ahead and use your Flame Strike Cone of Colds and keep them in the middle. The Hakari kind of voodoo pile in the middle is very beneficial as like a kind of landmark to try to focus on, and you can go around. As you can see, we have some thorium veins here. There's also 3 herb spawn spots inside of this area that you can potentially leverage throughout once you have all them dead. And so this is a great place to get the bloodvine. And so actually with this kill, I actually got a bloodvine earlier on when I was running back. And so bloodvine sells currently for about 60 gold on my server, but it's going to be one of the most useful things. Here you can see that I actually get down to about 70 health, and I have no way of getting my health back up anymore because I don't have any more potions and I don't have bandages. So you definitely do have the possibility of getting very low health doing this farm. Just try to make sure that you're as careful as possible. I did make the mistake of getting them up on the hill, and that was my mistake. So don't try to go up on the hill too much, because if you go up on the hill, then you're going to have issues with the mobs kind of separating and have the terrain issues. But here we were able to get them back down to the hill, and then we could focus on just getting them down for the kill. Now, once we get them down, as you can see, we're at about 15 minutes. Overall, this is going to take you about 12 minutes per run. The rogue got 36,382 experience, which is a little bit lower than normal. Typically, it's about 40,000 experience per run. Some runs you can get up to 50,000, but it's about 40,000 experience per run rested, which means it's about 20,000 experience per run not rested. But the nice thing is that you can solo this, and you can do this from level 50 plus. So this is going to be a way that you can go all the way from 50 to 60. So as I was going through and practicing this a bit more, I was able to get down a better strat to kill the tigers and the crocs together. And so I'm going to focus on that here and just show you guys what it is. So you come up against the wall and you block up against the wall. Now what this does is it automatically allows them to kind of stack up into a group themselves without being in a complete circle around your ice block. This allows you to come out, go ahead and pop your lip like always, do 3 arcane explosions, then run through and nova. And now you can see that they're all already grouped very well. Additionally, all the cubs that are going to be running away are going to be running away this pathway, and so they're going to have to run straight through you. So you could just kind of path back and just take care of any of the cubs that are there, and then just focus on the cold and cold, and you have them all in a good position. Then you go back into your normal strategy. So as far as making gold with this strategy, you can get about 80,000 to 100,000 experience easily per run, and once you get a higher level, once you get it down pretty well, you could probably get the alts about 120,000 experience per hour, not per run, sorry, per hour. So it's going to be a very good way to level up. And since you're doing it solo, I would say that it rivals Stratholme power leveling as well, because you don't need 2 people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, once you get the pathing down, it's probably going to be even easier than Strat. Now, it won't make as much money as Strat from the items that you get because bijous are decreasing in price, but you can also get bloodvines, which have a very good drop. And because you're going fast enough, once you get it down, you probably have time to get all the herbs. You can see here that there's 3 herbs, and I'm going to show you how to get even the herbs in this temple right here. And so you can actually get all these herbs every single reset if they're up. And so that's an extra high chance at a bloodvine every single run, which could give you an extra 50 gold per run. As far as cost goes to sell the run, it's going to vary per your server, but I typically would recommend around 15 gold per reset that you'd be selling it for. But here we could see that the rogue was getting 39,940 experience for this run, which means that 40,000 experience per run, you're looking at about 160,000 rested experience an hour or 80,000 non-rested experience an hour, which can get you each level in about 2.5 hours. You're also getting about 160 rep per run, which is really nice. And so you're also getting that rep on top of the experience to go ahead and get that boosted ZG gear pretty much once you hit 60. But here we go over and we loot the herbs. They have a decent chance of getting a bloodvine, and then I'll show you how to get up on this path to go ahead and get these 2. Okay, so this is definitely going to take some practice to get down, but once you get it down, you can get a couple extra herbs. And so what you want to do is you want to come over to this left side, and you want to jump up onto this platform right here. So I recommend being just a little bit on top of that, and you can see just the perfect amount that you can jump, but you jump up here. So this is part 1. Your next part is to try to get up on this top part here. So the way to do that is step down a little bit and jump onto this kind of level right there, and then just jump up onto this path. You can then get up onto this kind of thorn vine thing and then jump on top of here. Now there's a few paths that go in between here. There's this path up here, there's a path that's close to us, and then there's a path around the middle too. So you really have to watch for the paths. I recommend marking them, get used to their pathway because it's not worth dying. But if you come into this corner here, you're not in range of any of the mobs at all, and so you can wait until they all go through. But watch all these paths because I ultimately do end up dying. But you can see here that they don't aggro, they walk back, and then there's the opportunity to get 2 of the herbs. And so once they walk away, I am going to try to go for the herbs, but I forgot about the middle pack. And so I ultimately died at the middle pack. You can see here that this pack coming over here that's running back and forth runs over and does aggro onto me before I can get away. But just watch out for all the different paths. As long as you get down their pathing, you can get both these herbs every reset, go back to the corner spot, and then you can just log out and reset with your alt to get right back into another run. So the last thing that might take a little bit of adjusting is how to actually log out these alts to be able to reset. And so the way to reset is going to be to log out all the main tunes and reset with one of the alts. I've talked about that in the last video, and so I don't want to dive into that too much. But basically, you log out of all your tunes, log into the other alt, and reset it. And you can get somebody to invite all your tunes to one group if necessary. But what you're going to notice is that you're kind of stuck in combat with your alts when you're right around this area right here. And the reason is that there's these soul flayer packs and up here, and then there's also fish in the water. And so what you want to do is you want to get rid of these. So you run to the left, and then you let the fish in the water aggro onto you. Wait for these guys to go all the way back or go this way, whichever way they need to go. Then you run all the way to the right, hug the wall, and then when you're hugging the wall, the fish will actually unaggro and these will be away from you, and so you'll be able to log out from there and go ahead and reset. As long as you're hitting log out, even if something gets into combat with you, you can log out through that, and then you can just reset from there and you get right back into it. So the last thing I want to go over is the talent build itself and the gear. So as the talent build, it's going to be this talent build that I linked 2 days ago in my last video. But basically you go into fire, you get the Master of Elements, you get improved Flame Strike and Ignite, so you can do as much damage as possible during your shatter combos, and you also get Burning Soul in case you do have a mob hitting you. Then you go into Frost. I did take 1 point out of improved Frostbolt and put it into Elemental Precision just to be extra careful. You shouldn't need this point, but I just did it anyways. And then you go back and run down through here, skipping Piercing Ice, only going into 2 in Frost Channeling, so you can still maintain improved Blizzard and also get all the way down to Ice Barrier. So I'll have this talent tree linked down in the description down below. As far as the gear goes, I do not have the best gear. I have about 6,600 mana when I don't have Res Sickness, but it's not crazy. You can do this with about 6,000 mana solo still, even not needing a mana gem. But typically I would recommend at least 6,000 mana with a mana gem, and you should be good to go for every single one of these pools. My gear is some pieces from MC, and then I have some just BOEs, pre-bis kind of stuff that I picked up. I have a couple greens. I got like the Auction House, Glowing Brightwood Staff, Magical Cuffs, things like that. BOEs you can quickly get. The important thing is to have a maximum intellect and stamina on the gear to get that. The spell damage doesn't really matter because the spell damage coefficient of these spells isn't that high. Flame Strike's a little bit higher than the rest of the spells, but Cone of Cold and Arcane Explosion, if you have to use Arcane Explosion, are only 14% spell coefficient, so they really don't amplify your damage much with that extra spell power that you're going to have. All right, everyone, that wraps up today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please subscribe and leave a like and a comment below to let me know so. And if you guys have any other ideas for any other videos, please let me know in the comments below. Also, check out the description for the Twitch where I do all this live, and also for my Twitter and Discord where you guys can be notified of any future updates and when I'm going to go live on stream. So I'll see you guys in the next video.